not, but I built this router trammel for my router. And in the beginning of the video, I said that I needed a router trammel because I was building a Longworth Chuck, and I needed something that could cut big circles. Well, I didn't actually mean that I was going to cut the circles out with the router, but inside a Longworth Chuck you have all these big arcs that have to be made, and that's why I needed the trammel. But of course, the router trammel can be used for just about anything, you know, any kind of circles or arcs or whatever you need in your shop. So, but anyway, I had one guy ask me, why don't you just use a bandsaw jig to cut the circles? And I'm like, well, you know, that's actually what I was planning on doing. And you know, I'm sure you've seen my bandsaw jig before, but all it is a table with a pivot point on it, and I just turn the piece against my blade here. But anyway, I'm building my Longworth Chuck, and I'm getting started on it right now. And it starts out with 2 pieces of plywood right here. Okay, I've already screwed them together. This is the piece that I used the other day to cut the big circle, just to kind of demonstrate my router trammel. But now I'm going to take this. I've got it sandwiched on the other. It's about 1.5 inches thick. It's 2 pieces of birch plywood. Actually, it's the Home Depot birch plywood, and I just screwed them together. So anyway, we're going to get started on this thing. And why do I need a Longworth Chuck? Well, I want to turn some bowls that are bigger than the capacity of my lathe. Well, as I got to thinking about this, I'm going to make one that'll fit over my lathe also, over my lathe bed also, because I think I'm really going to like the way these things secure pieces. They're better, I think they're better than coal jaws because it's so easily adjustable. And you know, it depends on how secure they are, which it looks to me like they'll be very secure, is what I'm going to do. My first one, my big one, is it's going to be about 22-inch diameter, large diameter here, so that I can maybe get a 20-inch bowl mounted in this chuck. I want to go from about 14-inch diameter to a 20-inch diameter with this one. And my other one, my next one, is going to be smaller, and I'm hoping to get anywhere from about 6 to 14-inch diameter with it. So I'm going to have a little overlap there. So maybe, you know, maybe it'll work out the way I want it to. And we're going to get started on that right now. I've already got these 2 pieces screwed together, so we're going to start right there. All right, let's talk about this circle jig for just a minute. It's very simple. It's just a board, and really the only requirements is that it be flat. I've got a guide bar here for my miter slot so that I keep it going in and out straight, and I've got a block up under here that I can lock it down once I get it in. Okay, so the way this works is I put my center point a little bit further than the actual diameter of the circles, and in order to get it in here, you have to pull the table back. You put it, you mount this in. I have a 3/16 brass rod that fits in here. This is 11 inches, so that'll give me a 22-inch circle. I don't know if you can see it, but I actually have this all the way back. It's numbered all the way back, and I just used my ruler to help me get all those. But anyway, I'll put it in here, and then I have to turn the bandsaw on and move this thing forward to the center. Once I line it up on this line, I'm in the center. I'll lock it down up under here, and then I'll just start turning my circle. And when I get done, I should have a 22-inch circle. Alright, so we're going to get started on this. Okay, I'm just going to use my center finder for my faceplate to center it up on the 3/16 hole I use as my pivot point on the bandsaw when I cut my circles. And I'll get my faceplate screwed down. It'll be pretty close to center. It'll be very, very close. Now I've got it mounted on the lathe with a faceplate. I'm just going to true up all the edges and make sure everything's trued up and ready to go. Alright, now I'm just marking the center, and I'll start getting my layout from here. I'll come out with my faceplate. It's a 6-inch faceplate. I'll give a 3/4 inch leeway right there. I'll mark that 3 3/4, and I'll come in 3/4 from the edge, from the outside edge, and I'll go right between those two, and I'll mark halfway, and then I'll go between that one and the first one, and I'll mark halfway for it too. So now I've got number 1 right here, number 4 there, 2 and 3. So I'll go ahead and number these 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now I'll darken them in so I can see them. Just do this on the lathe. Alright. There again, this is my faceplate plus 3/4. 3 3/4 from the outside edge. Halfway between number 1 and number 4, I put number 3. And then halfway between number 1 and number 3, I put number 2. Okay, now I'm just laying out for 8 segments. So they're going to be 45 degrees apart. So I've drawn a line straight through the middle, and I'll come off 45, 90, and 45 on the other side with my protractor. Accuracy is very important. And then you'll connect all your lines going straight through the center. This will directly affect how well it holds your bowl. So make sure to be accurate. Around the 3rd ring where it meets the line segments coming out, I'm just putting a divot so I can get my drill bit started. As I go from number 3, this is my pivot point, across the center, straight across the center to number 1. Okay, so that should have it. Okay, and then I'll arc back to the left. Okay, just like so. I'll just arc back to the left, and that is the pattern that we'll use. Okay, it arcs from here all the way back. But since this is going to be a large one, and you could go all the way in if you would like to, but I'm not going all the way in. I'm probably going to stop at this second line, because this is about an 11-inch circle here, and I'm not planning on going that small with this particular chuck. Yeah, it's about 10 3/4. So I'm going to stop here, right here with my trammel. I'm only going to cut this arc from here out to here. That's all this arc's going to be for this particular chuck. My next chuck will go from about here on in. So anyway, the reason I'm not cutting this out is just because I don't need it. I don't need that, and I'd rather just have that wood there for the strength and stuff like that. So okay, I'm just drilling out for the center, drilling a 1/2 inch hole through the center, and this will be my pivot point. I'll put a 1/2 inch dowel in there. Now I'm going to start drilling my pivot points where I made my. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going from number 3 right here, number 3 circle, which is where my pin is right now, across to the number 1 circle. Okay, and I need to find that center point, and the way I did that was I put a V-groove bit in my router. Put a V-groove bit in it. Okay, I put the router inside here, or inside the base, and tighten everything up, and just moved my little adjustable arm until I got that V-groove bit dead center. All right, so now I'm just going to trade this out. I'm using 1/4-20 bolts in my Longworth Chuck, so I'm gonna cut a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna put a 1/4 inch bit in my router. All right, well, I'll be right back. All right. Okay. Now my router's set up, my Trammel, and I'm only gonna try to make about 1/8 to maybe 3/16 deep cuts, and I'm just going to cut through multiple passes to get through all the way through. And this is thick, it's about 1.5 inches thick, but I've already got it all set up. The router's centered, the pin is in number 3, and the bit is centered on number 1, but I'm actually going to start on number 2 out here. Okay, so I'm actually going to be starting right here, starting here and moving out to here. Okay, moving out to right there. All right, well, ready to get this thing started. Okay, getting ready, and I'll make multiple passes. It took about 6 or 8 passes to get all the way through here. Is what it actually ended up taking. About 6 to 8 passes. Comes right out the bottom. Well, okay, that's the first one cut through. It actually didn't take but a couple of minutes. It's all the way through. A very nice cut down in there. But I'm taking it very easy. I'm taking it very easy. You can see the cut goes all the way through. See my hand up under there. But anyway, very smooth cut. But I'm having to take it easy because this is not a carbide bit. This is just a high-speed steel bit. So I have to be careful of trying to burn the wood and maybe getting this thing dull. The last thing I want is for this thing to get dull. So I'm taking it nice and easy, small passes, and trying not to overheat that bit. Okay, I'm just drilling 3/4 inch holes on each of the 8 segments out here, about 3/4 inch from the edge, and these are just for finger holes to help me slide the 2 pieces together. I'm going to draw a triangle here, so when I unscrew the pieces, I'll always be able to keep the orientation correct. Okay, got all my finger holes. Now I'm just going to chamfer them over. Just putting a 45-degree chamfer on them on the 2 opposing faces, or the 2 outside pieces. then on the other side. Flip it over. Now I flip this, and I'll do a chamfer on the inside of these. Flip the top piece, and chamfer out all the finger holes. Now I'm just going to sand everything at 120, and then I'll come back and sand at 220. And these are the mating faces. So that, matter of fact, I'll do all 4 faces, but the mating faces have to slide together really well. So I sand them up real good up to about 220. And then I'm going to sand in all the grooves. Make sure you get the grooves really smooth, so that the bolts will slide in and out very easily. Got a 1/4 inch bolt and a 1/4 inch groove, so there's not much room for error there. Okay, I'm just going to use some sanding sealer and seal up all 4 faces. Once this is cured up, I'll sand it, and then I'll wax the outside. I'll wax all 4 faces again, mainly so that the mating pieces will have wax between them and they'll slide. Okay, first sanding, and I've already put my pivot point in the middle. I glued it onto the bottom. The side with a faceplate, I glued the pivot point on, and the other will just sit on it. So we're just going to sand over all the faces with 220. Now there's my pivot point. I'm just going to go back over all the faces with the furniture paste wax or finishing paste wax. And it's mainly just the mating surfaces that need wax, but I just did all the faces anyway. Okay, now I just need to buff it out, make sure everything's nice and slick. And we'll slide together really, really easy. All right. Okay, now I've got my triangle lined back up. So I'm going to flip this one. I'm going to flip the top piece straight over and set it down over the pivot point and allow it to match back up just like that. And my triangles stayed there. And this is the way they should slide together, just like that. Okay, these are the parts I need. I need 2.5 inch bolts, and don't use the ones that are threaded all the way up. I'll show you the others in a minute. I'll need 1/4 inch washers. The bolts are 1/4 and then I need 1/4 wing nuts and some rubber stoppers. I got all of this at the Home Depot, and we'll start assembly. Got it mounted back on the lathe. I'm going to start out with a bolt, and notice this has it's a smooth bolt except for the very end is threaded. Put a washer on first, and then a rubber stopper. And then another washer. Push it through the right hole. There you go. And washer on the back and a wing nut. And you're ready to go. You have to do all 8 like this. Okay, we've got all the bolts in. And let's see. Works good. Now let's take our measurements. Well, I want to have a tape measure out. There it is. Okay, let's see. Right about here, I can get down to about a 10.5 inch bowl. And here, I can get 20 inch bowl. Ah! Okay. So from here I can get from 10 down to about a 20 inch bowl. Yep. 10 inches. Well, alright, this is my second one. And it's actually mounted with my chuck. It uses the chuck. My one-way stronghold. I have a maple faceplate back here. And it's glued to this back plate, to this back wheel, and also I have 4 screws in it also. Screws come almost all the way through. I didn't really trust just the glue because I don't really trust this little bitty thin veneer on the outside right there to glue it to. So I went ahead and put screws in also. But it turns really good too. Nice and true. It spins really good, and I think I'm good to do any bowls that I want to do, except for maybe natural edge bowls, something like that, and should be good to go. But there's number 1, and there's number 2. This one goes from 6 3/4 inches to 13 1/4 inches diameter bowls, and this one goes from, I think it's 10.5 to 20 inches. All right, be back in a minute. Well, all right, there's my 2 Longworth Chucks. My big one here for bowls up to 20 inches. And I've got this one for bowls up to 13 inches. Or actually this one's about 10.5 to 20 inches. And this one is just over 6 to 13 inches. So I've got a good overlap there. Anything 13 inches, around 13 inches or smaller, I'll use this one. I would prefer to use this one if I can, but when I have something really large where I have to turn outboard, then I can use this one. It's really heavy. It probably weighs 10-15 pounds, so I'm not going to use it unless I have to, but now I've got it, so whenever I need it, I can use it. Let me put that up. Well, all right. Well, that was a pretty good build. I've got about 7 hours in the one that I videoed, in the large one, and I was a little bit more efficient building this one. I was down to about 4 hours on it, so I didn't shellac. I didn't use sand and sealer on this one. I just used wax, and it worked out. It worked out just fine. So anyway, that's Longworth Chuck. My way. Thank you, Henrique, for your videos and all the other Longworth Chuck videos that I studied before I built these. And this is just kind of my version. This, I didn't design these things or anything like that. I just wanted to build some, and I've had people, ask me to do a video on Longworth Chuck. So there's my video on Longworth Chucks. I hope it helps somebody out. Longworth Chuck is a very secure way of mounting a bowl in on your lathe to finish up the bottom, and do whatever you need to on the bottom. So I'm excited about using them. And well, anyway, oh, I could still use my vacuum chuck, and I still will. My vacuum chuck still works really well, and that's what I normally use on all my bowls, and it does work well. But there's a lot of time hooking stuff up, make sure everything's right so you don't throw your bowl out and things like that. With the Longworth Chuck, I can mount this right in my chuck, unscrew the back and slide it and tighten it down on my bowl and tighten the little wing nuts up on the back, and I'm good to go. Same way with the larger one. So I can do up to a 20-inch bowl with that thing now. Alright, well, I hope y'all had a good day, and hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all down the road.